Great. My name is Stefaan Verhulst. I'm the co-founder of the GovLab, Governance Laboratory at NYU. And I'm here with two distinguished experts who were on a panel this morning with regard to data collaboratives, or a new kind of public-private partnerships around data. And specifically, how can we accelerate data collaboratives to meet certain kinds of SDG goals, whether it's through improving the way we go about statistics or whether it's through empowering non-profit organizations. And I will ask the panelists to introduce themselves, and then we can perhaps reflect on some of the findings of this morning. Claudia, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Stefan. My name is Claudia Jüch. I'm the CEO and president of the Cloudera Foundation, a relatively new foundation that focuses on using data, machine learning, and data analytics to improve people's lives and the planet.
Great.
Yeah, I'm Omar Seydu, the head of demographic statistics and the coordinator of the SDGs of Ghana Statistical Service. Coming from the National Statistical Office, obviously data is one of the key things that we deal with every day.
Great. And Omar, starting with you, one of the topics this morning was really about, is there value in private data for statistical agencies? And that's a question that you have tried to answer through practice. And so perhaps it might be good to reflect on what has so far been the practice in Ghana with regard to private data for statistical purposes.
Yeah, obviously, if you look at the breadth of the SDGs and the indicators for monitoring, the national statistics institutions or the statistical systems in countries cannot provide the kind of data that is required. So there is the need to look beyond the statistical system and see which other non-traditional data sources could be leveraged for SDGs. So in the case of Ghana, we thought it was important to work with all the stakeholders, private sector, civil society, academia, and the media to see what alternative ways do we have to fill data gaps that are identified. And one of the key things we found is the use of telephone data, the use of satellite imagery. So we started discussing the possibility of using this to fill specific data gaps that we have identified. With the satellite imagery, we realized that quite a number of the SDGs on climate, life on Earth, you need satellite imagery to continuously monitor progress. In the case of Ghana, we have some peculiar challenge in terms of illegal mining, destroying our forest cover, destroying water bodies, and taking away the livelihood of some citizens. And the government currently has placed a ban on mining, illegal mining. But it is so difficult because people cannot find their way of getting there. And so we have found this resource as one of the key partnership with the private sector to leverage Earth observation data to help monitor these activities. The other thing has to do with that interventions in the health sector. When you have a fair sense of the movement of people, then it gives you an opportunity to better manage certain health situations and other social interventions. Censuses and surveys traditionally provide data. However, these provide data between 5-10 years periods, and you need data continuously. And we have found this to be useful to work with telecom data for that kind of. So we have started, but at this point, we are still at the point where we are discussing the technical issues involved, the legal issues to get, because we intend to use this for the production of official statistics.
Right.
And we have gone far with it.
Higher bar to actually get going. Yeah. So Claudia, meaning you're at a corporation, and so what's the incentive for corporations, and specifically what's the work you do, and what's the incentive for Cloudera to actually engage on, in this context, sharing some of the data expertise?
I'm actually at an independent non-profit foundation.
Related to,
related to a company, but that's an important distinction in terms of what we can and cannot do. But the question clearly still remains relevant. I mean, companies like Digital Globe, like Facebook, like many others who are data owners, as well as tech companies such as Cloudera and others make their expertise, all their data available, and that is triggered by many different factors. I mean, there is, I think, the serious intent to help, but also it's attractive to retain employees, to kind of build brand, to really have establish a good reputation. So there are a couple of kind of incentives that are playing out, but at the moment it's really a voluntary effort. There is not, as kind of you are thinking about the data collaboratives or data stewardship, I think there is not a guided effort around that, and I think that is very much needed. I mean, when I speak from the perspective of nonprofits that I have spoken to, more than 200 over the last couple of months in setting up the Cloudera Foundation, clearly they see many similar opportunities that you were describing, Omar, but they also face a lot of challenges in terms of, I mean, clearly kind of legal, how they are dealing with legal issues and how can they get the expertise, but also from a technical perspective. What data can they even utilize, and how would they utilize the data? And they can't afford to hire data engineers or data scientists to do that. And so they're kind of trying to basically patchwork things together, which is often very hard and not sustainable. And I think that is one of the reasons why we see so many pilots and experiments, but not going further. One of the reasons why we have set up the Cloudera Foundation the way we are doing it is that we really want to bring some more sustained expertise and staff time to those projects, to hopefully getting them over the hurdle of just being a pilot, but really to be fully integrated into nonprofits.
So one of the things we discussed was also in order to make it more systemic and also sustainable, because those were the two challenges that came out throughout the conversation, is that it's quite often not systemic, it's a pilot, never scales, or it's not sustainable. You get going, but then ultimately there are too many transaction costs to establish it, or there are costs to maintain it. One solution that we looked at was the concept of data stewards, that you actually have to have, as you mentioned, going beyond the voluntary kind of notion, but really have some kind of a point of contact that is also has the mandate to actually engage with the public sector, and then also has a procedure that is somewhat transparent on making decisions. So Omar, how would that help your life if you would have data stewards? And have you felt that that is a missing component?
Yes, data steward is something that is very critical, because in this space you want to ensure that whatever you're doing does not end with the initial pilot. And more in our case, we've seen whatever we're doing now must overlive the SDGs. It means that we need to find ways to make them sustainable. So for instance, when we started work on the African Regional Data Queue, trying to use health population data, what we did was to constitute a national technical team looking at the various institutions, both public, private, and academia, that require satellite imagery for their operations. I convene the team and get them to have an assessment of the gaps they have in their various institutions, and get the institutions to nominate the technical people who would be part of this process. And so we took them through a training program in Nairobi, and since they came back, we task them to develop use cases. And with these use cases that can demonstrate the actual potential of this resource, we have now moved to the next stage of training many more people. So in November, we had a training to cover over 50 additional people. The idea is to make this resource available to as many people as possible. And then we will have many more use cases developed, and we integrate these into our core business of the various institutions that we have. So this for us is a way to make sure this becomes sustainable by integrating it into the institution's activities.
Great.
I would maybe like to highlight a few more functions that I see that stewards playing, because basically I think there is a triangle. We have the non-profits or governmental functions that are acting on the data. We have maybe a tech partner like Cloudera, and then we have the data stewards who are representing the data owners or the data holders in this case. And I think a lot of times I see nonprofits being challenged, really defining what kind of data are they looking for. So they need someone at the other end who can really help them understand what data is available, what data will help them answer their questions and help them kind of further specify maybe also what that question is, and help clarify the legal intricacies around that and the licensing agreement. I think those are, and the risks associated with their data. I think those are two important additional functions that I see data stewards playing.
Yeah, and so I think one more topic perhaps to focus on, which is the concept of responsible data collaboration. And so clearly you already mentioned, Omar, that if you use it for statistical purposes, there's a higher bar, especially if it turns into official statistics that people depend on. But you also have a long tradition of confidentiality. And so how do you deal with the questions of responsibility?
Yes, in our case, one of our projects, I'm sure at this point, the expectation was that we would have started churning out some kind of metrics because we started engaging on that project very early in 2017. But because of these same issues of ensuring that we protect the sanctity of the data and of the institutions, of course, because you want to make sure that none of these institutions ends up in a way that would discourage others from coming into this kind of work. So we have instituted some measures to go through all the legal procedures involved, trying to document what will be the processes, the procedures, what role will each player play in this, and then what are the end product we expect, who have access to this, especially when you talk of data that can identify individuals. And we go to the extent of making sure we define the parameters that are not limiting to only this project, but to subsequent projects, so that in future we have the structure that will guide other collaborators that we enter into. And that has actually informed why this program has delayed up to this point, but we are almost at the edge where we are most likely going to sign the agreement between the partners involved and the project counterpart. And we believe with that, it safeguards everyone.
So
From a statistical office perspective, the purpose is very clear for which we use the data. And I feel that when it comes to non-profit use, we also need to be really clear about what's the use case and not digressing from the use case. Because a lot of times, for example, when we look at the use of data in emergencies, it's very hard to really define what is an emergency. And what I worry a little bit about is that we are kind of pushing that out and out, so that it becomes easier to access maybe certain types of data depending on how we define emergencies. I mean, the other two aspects that come to mind, clearly there is the legal aspect, and that we, at each step of the kind of data production, data use, data dissemination, need to think about what are the kind of legal responsibilities and adhering to laws, especially if we are looking at cross-border collaborations where it also gets more tricky. But then I think as a third component, there's just an ethical question which stands above. So it might not yet be law because we are operating sometimes in fairly new territory. But I liked how Kara Selk this morning in our panel framed it. I mean, what would you expect a reasonable person to think about this? And I think so. There is still this kind of our ethical kind of judgment needs to overlay and come in addition to what is legal and related to purpose.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the panel and for sharing your wisdom. I think a clear message here is that this is still early days, but we have a few pioneering examples, both in terms of what's happening in Ghana and what's happening at the Cloudera Foundation, that are setting the way, but also that we really need a human infrastructure of data stewards. And so for anyone who is interested, keep an eye on what's happening. And at GovLab, we are developing a data stewards network, and more information can be found on datastewards.net, where we also will have the ones that are on the panel be part of in the near future. Thank you.